The Game Getter by Marbles Manufacturing Company. Is it a handgun? Is it a long gun? Is it an SBR? Is it a rifle? Is it a smoothbore shotgun? What the hell is it? And why is it considered the predecessor of the M6 Aircrew Survival Weapon issued to the U.S. Air Force? Let's talk about it.
Woo! It's go, 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 go time.
It all started with this guy, Webster L. Marble, an inventor, outdoorsman, and minimalist. He believed most outings were spoiled by poor equipment and too much of it. He set out to design the perfect minimalist gun for the outdoorsman. It had to be lightweight, multiple calibers, and have absolute reliability. And in 1908, the Marbles Company of Gladstone, Michigan came out with the Game Getter, a versatile foldable over-under trail gun. The top barrel was a .22 and the under was a .45 bore that could handle either bullets or 410 shot shells. It had a folding wire stock and slipped into a shoulder holster. The leather holster allowed you to carry the Game Getter slung across the shoulder, tucked under one arm, comfortably out of the way until needed. The purpose of this gun was to bag small game, big game, and defend against predators, all with one gun. It was the ultimate trail gun or backpack gun. The operation was simplicity itself. The finish was considered breathtaking by many. The frame and barrels were rust blued in the style known as National Armory Bright. Screws were highly polished, then gas oven heated to a deep sapphire. Color case hardening left hammer and striker with unique patterns of red, amber, and blue. And the stock's nickel plate was mirror bright. 3 generations of the system were produced. The first generation, model 1908, was manufactured between 1908 and 1918. The second generation, model 1921, was made from 1921 to 1962. And the third generation was released by Marble Arms in 2009, and it was a replica of the 1908 model, except with longer barrels of 18.5 inches instead of the original 15-inch barrels. For the original models, barrel lengths of 12, 15, and 18 were produced. After the passage of the 1934 National Firearms Act, the 12 and 15-inch models were discontinued for domestic sales. It's classified with the ATF as any other weapon, AOW. AOW is an umbrella term used to describe firearms that are not exactly rifles, shotguns, or handguns, but something else entirely. They fall in a different category of any other weapon. Marble Arm is still in business and retains the original shipping record similar to Colt. Here's an example of one. Now let's take a closer look at this second generation model 1921 Game Getter. This one was manufactured in 1928. It has its original leather shoulder holster. The weight is just 2¼ pounds, and it has 2 15-inch barrels. The left side of the frame is marked with the Marbles Game Getter designation and address in Gladstone, Michigan. The right side of the receiver is marked with the caliber. The upper barrel is chambered in .22 short, long, and long rifle. The lower barrel is chambered in .44 Game Getter round and 410 gauge 2.5-inch shot shells. It has walnut grip panels. The folding nickel-plated skeleton stock has a spring-loaded locking plunger at the front of the lower arm. Now this stock sounds good in theory, but in practice, when you are shooting 410 shot shells or hotter loads, that recoil pushes the wire stock straight into your chest and it is very unpleasant. Here's me shooting the 410 shot shell for the first time. But more on this later. break open the action by pulling the trigger guard to the rear. That opens up the breech. From here, you can load the .22 at the top and the .410 shell at the bottom. The extractor here pushes the empty shells up for easy reach. It has a single action hammer with a pivoting striker for appropriate firing pin contact. Push it up to select the upper barrel, the .22, or push it downward to select the lower barrel, the .410. Let's check out the sights. It has a very nice brass bead front sight. The rear had two sight options, a flip-up aperture option for the .22. Notice how the sights are crooked and veering towards the right. And a notched rear sight for the shotgun. Although the sights were crooked, the accuracy wasn't too bad on this thing. I rather enjoyed shooting it with only the .22 LR selection, but that changes when I start shooting the .410. And just when I could imagine myself as a cowgirl on the trail in the 1920s shooting small game with it, this happened. I attempted to pull the trigger and pulled the trigger guard instead, breaking open the action. And I realized this gun could not realistically be used to defend against predators because in a stressful, highly intense situation, it's very easy to open that action with an accidental squeeze of the trigger guard. I'll show you another example of that in a bit. Now, shooting the .410 barrel was definitely not as enjoyable. After the first shot, I had to leave to get my shoulder pad and to check the ammo to make sure I wasn't shooting a hotter load. But no, that was only a .410 target load, which should have been appropriate for this gun. Then I realized, because this gun is such a minimalist gun, you feel that recoil like no other. Here I attempt to shoot both barrels as a handgun. I had no problem with the .22, except that I was way off. But I was scared to shoot the shotgun barrel without shouldering it because I just didn't think it would go well. Should I hip fire it? Nah, I'm even scared to do that. Shouldering it is. I decided to try to hip fire it with the stock folded, but check this out. I shoot the .22 barrel first, and once again the action opens up after the gun discharges because the folded wire stock brushed up against the trigger guard during the recoil. To me, a dangerous design. So with the shotgun barrel, I was really nervous and careful not to touch that trigger guard. Jesus. Now your basic field strip is done with just the removal of one screw with a flathead screwdriver. Now you can remove the barrel from the lower receiver and the extractor pops out. Now this is your basic field strip for cleaning. Now this caliber plate is actually the extractor as well. It goes right here. So when putting it back together, first place the plate into the grooves on the right side of the breech. Now you can slip it into the lower receiver. There's a little back plate for this screw. Once in place, you can screw that screw in. Simple, minimal, as intended. After World War II, the U.S. Air Force began looking for an aircrew survival weapon to ensure that downed U.S. airmen can stay alive. The aircrew survival weapon is a pilot's last-ditch tool after ejection. It's primarily intended to give the pilot a tool to stay alive in a rough situation. They are primarily meant to shoot game or even to signal for help, and only in the worst-case scenario be used as defensive weapons. In 1952, the United States Air Force adopted the M6 Aircrew Survival Weapon. Similar to the Game Getter, the M6 was an over-under double-barrel gun with both a rifle and shotgun barrel. It was minimalist in design and used a .22 Hornet round at the top, and the bottom barrel was a .410 shotgun. The M6 Aircrew Survival Weapon had barrel lengths of 14 inches and can fold down to a 15-inch long package to fit into the aircrew's tiny survival kit. And like the Game Getter, a fire pin selector allowed the shooter to choose which barrel would be fired. Because most bomber crews operated in the Arctic region during the Cold War, a trigger bar was used that could be depressed while wearing mittens, as opposed to the conventional trigger. A storage compartment in the stock held 9 rounds of .22 Hornet ammunition with 4 shotgun shells. The overall weight of the initial version, including stored ammo, was around 3 to 4 pounds. Replicas of this famous weapon exist to this day from Springfield Armory as well as Chiapa. But it all started with this guy, this inventor, outdoorsman, and minimalist, Webster Marble. In his quest to design the perfect simple tool for the outdoorsman, he created a survivalist weapon, which inspired the U.S. military to adopt a similar design for their aircrew survival weapon, which served the United States Air Force for over 2 decades. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. If you want to see more videos like this, please like, share, and subscribe.